You've been lied to about money, and that lie is probably the reason you still feel broke, even if your income went up. Because the biggest reason people stay financially stuck isn't bad luck, isn't inflation, isn't even low income. It's something far more dangerous, something almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, you'll never think about money the same way again. Here's the scary part. You can make $2,000 a month and feel rich, or make $20,000 a month and still feel trapped, still stressed, still behind. Why? Because being good with money has almost nothing to do with intelligence and everything to do with behavior. Today, you're about to hear the best financial advice you'll ever hear. The kind that quietly changes how you think, how you spend, how you save, and maybe your entire future. Because one idea changed the way millions think about money. And after hearing this, it might change yours too. What's the number one thing keeping people broke? Most people say, low salary, the economy, bad opportunities. Wrong. The real answer? Ignorance. Not lack of intelligence. Not lack of talent. Ignorance. And there's a massive difference. Because smart people go broke all the time. People with degrees. People with six-figure jobs. People who look successful online. Still drowning in debt. Still stressed every month. Still one emergency away from panic. Meanwhile, someone with an average income, no fancy degree, no secret investment strategy, can quietly build wealth. How? Because money isn't about how smart you are. It's about how you behave. That changes everything. We've been taught this strange idea. If I just make more money, everything gets better. But look around. How many people got raises and somehow still struggle? How many people earn more than ever, yet feel more stressed than ever? That's not an accident. That's lifestyle inflation, and it's quietly destroying people. More income, bigger spending, better car, more subscriptions, bigger house, nicer vacations, higher expectations. And suddenly, making more money changes nothing. You're just surviving at a more expensive level. That's the trap. And almost nobody notices it happening because it happens slowly. One reasonable decision at a time. A nicer apartment, a better phone, a monthly payment that isn't that bad, a vacation you deserve. Nothing feels reckless. Everything feels normal, responsible, even, until one day, you're staring at your bank account thinking, how am I making this much money? And still stressed. Sound familiar? Here's the truth no one tells you. The problem usually isn't income. The problem is expectations. Because expectations move faster than income. Always. You think, if I just hit this number, then I'll relax. Then you hit the number. And suddenly, the target moves. Now it's, maybe I need a little more. Then a little more. Then a little more. And before you realize it, you're running on a treadmill that never stops. That's why some rich people still feel poor. Because wealth isn't a number. It's a feeling. And if your expectations keep growing, no amount will ever feel like enough. That's one of the hardest truths about money. Nobody teaches us this. Instead, social media teaches us the opposite. Open Instagram. Open TikTok. Everywhere you look, someone richer, someone younger, someone driving something nicer, flying somewhere expensive, living a life that makes yours suddenly feel small. And that comparison? It's expensive. Very expensive. Because comparison changes spending. You stop buying things you need and start buying things to feel enough, to feel successful, to feel respected, to feel like you're finally catching up. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't buying things for themselves. They're buying things to impress people who aren't paying attention. Think about that. Seriously. The car, the watch, the designer clothes, the expensive dinners, the giant mortgage. Ask yourself honestly, would you still want it? If nobody could see it? If nobody knew what you drove? What brand you wore? How expensive your house was? Would you still care? That question changes everything. Because most spending falls into two categories. You're either buying something to improve your life or to impress someone else. And most people, they confuse the two. That expensive thing feels exciting in the moment, but excitement fades. Payments don't. That new purchase gives temporary happiness. Debt gives long-term stress. And this is where people quietly lose control of their future. Because every dollar of debt owns a piece of your tomorrow. Think about that. Every unnecessary payment is future freedom disappearing. You're trading future peace for temporary pleasure. And it feels harmless until years pass. Then suddenly, you feel trapped. You can't quit the job, can't take risks, can't even breathe, because your lifestyle owns you. And that's why the real financial goal isn't becoming rich. It's becoming free. There's a difference. Rich means buying expensive things. Wealth means owning your time. And time, that's the real flex. Because some people look successful, but they're trapped. Big income, big stress, big payments, always working, always maintaining an image. Meanwhile, some ordinary people live quietly. No financial panic, no pressure to impress, just peace. And peace, that's priceless. Because freedom means sleeping at night. Freedom means one bad month won't destroy you. Freedom means money stops controlling every decision. But most people never reach that point. Why? Because they fall into the trap called never enough. You tell yourself, if I make a little more money, then life gets easier. Then the raise comes. And somehow, nothing changes. Because now the apartment needs upgrading. The car feels old. The lifestyle expands. And suddenly, success feels normal. That's the trap. The goalpost keeps moving. You think more money will finally bring peace. But what you're really chasing is contentment. That feeling of saying, this is enough. And if expectations keep growing, that moment never arrives. Because comparison never ends. There will always be someone richer, someone more successful, someone living bigger. That's why chasing status quietly destroys happiness. Real wealth grows differently. Slowly, boringly, quietly. No shortcuts. No overnight success. Just small habits repeated. Saving a little. Spending smarter. Being patient. Again and again. Because tiny decisions repeated long enough change everything. And eventually, you stop chasing appearances. You start chasing peace. And realize something powerful. The goal was never more money. The goal was freedom. Save first. Spend later. Simple, but powerful. Most people save whatever is left. And that's the problem. Because after spending, there's usually nothing left. So flip the system. Treat savings like a bill. Like rent. Like electricity. Non-negotiable. Every paycheck. Something goes away. Automatically. $10. $20. $50. Doesn't matter. Small beats nothing. Because one truth nobody escapes. Life happens. Job loss. Medical bills. Family emergencies. Unexpected expenses. Not maybe. Definitely. And when life hits, savings stop problems from becoming disasters. That emergency fund, it becomes peace. Breathing room. Time. Time to think. Time to recover. Time to avoid desperate decisions. Because panic is expensive. Panic creates bad loans. More debt. Quick fixes. Savings create clarity. And clarity, that's real financial power. Not luxury cars. Not fake success online. Real power is sleeping peacefully. Not constantly stressed. And here's something most people never realize. You don't need big money to start. People quit too early. What's the point of saving $20? Here's the point. It changes who you become. Every dollar saved sends your brain a signal. I'm someone who controls money. Small habits build identity. Identity builds lifestyle. Lifestyle builds results. That's how change happens. Quietly. Now let's talk about debt. Because debt doesn't just cost money. It costs freedom. Every dollar of debt owns a piece of your future. Future you pays for current you. That impulse buy. Future stress. That unnecessary upgrade. Future payment. At first, debt feels harmless. Small payment. Normal. Manageable. Until life happens. And suddenly, those small payments feel crushing. That's the trap. People think debt steals money. No. Debt steals options. You stay stuck. In jobs you hate. Stress you can't escape. A life you can't afford to change. And freedom? That should be the goal. Not looking rich. Freedom. The ability to breathe. To choose. To sleep peacefully. Because rich looks expensive. But wealth? Wealth looks quiet. Rich buys things. Wealth buys freedom. Someone making huge money can still be trapped, stressed, dependent, living paycheck to paycheck at a luxury level. Meanwhile, someone with average income, smart habits, low debt, savings, investments, can feel completely free. That's wealth. Because wealth isn't what people see. Wealth is what people don't see. Money invested, money saved, money untouched. That quiet financial cushion, that's real power. Because eventually, you stop making decisions out of fear and start making them from freedom. So, what's the best financial advice you'll ever hear? Here it is. Stop trying to look rich. Start trying to become free. Spend less than you earn. Save automatically. Avoid unnecessary debt. Stop comparing yourself. Be patient and understand this. Money is not about impressing people. Money is a tool to build peace, security, time, freedom. Because one day, you'll realize the people who looked rich weren't actually wealthy, and the people quietly building freedom won the game. Not because they made the most money, because they mastered themselves. And maybe that's what financial success really is. Not having everything, but finally being able to say, I have enough. If this changed how you think about money, hit subscribe, because the small financial habits you ignore today might completely change your future tomorrow.